Hello and welcome into the RotoWire esports show. I am Andrew Laird, joined as always by Ethan Sexton. We're back. We had the end of the LPL and LCK seasons, and we are now in our the classic mid-season invitationals that we're going to be talking about because DraftKings and FanDuel have contests up for them. So, Ethan, welcome back.
Yeah, it's good to be here, man. Lots happened in the past few weeks. I got a new camera, and you told me I sound a little better, which I know I was a little tinny with my old setup. So maybe that'll be a little better for everybody. Easier to hear my my good and bad advice go through this mid-season invitational. I'm looking forward to it as a fan. I mean, 2 years since we've done this because last year was canceled for COVID, of course. The international events are always pretty cool because you get a wide variety of styles and, teams that you've never seen or never heard of before, which is both interesting and confusing from a DFS perspective, at least. We get to see a lot of different players and, we get to see the best teams from all the regions going up against each other. So it makes for a fun competition in the middle of the year.
Yeah, there were a few people who reached out to me asking if we were going to do any content for MSI. And I believe all of them said it in jest because they know that I don't follow these other leagues. I was even going to say a little bit at all. But it's DFS League of Legends, I think, translates very well. Obviously, there's some differences with these. We're going to see some pretty big favorites on some of these slates just because some of the leagues are significantly better than others. But it's when it comes down to it, we're still playing DFS League of Legends. And so, tournament sizes on DraftKings are big enough. So we're going to talk about them. And I haven't heard of most of these teams, but thankfully there are betting odds and Ethan Sexton to get me through there.
Yeah, well, in fairness, though, I want to say this off the top. You said you don't follow these other leagues at all. And, to be honest, I only follow them marginally a little bit more than not at all. So it's going to be difficult. I know a little bit about each team at least. But, I can't sit here and say I'm an expert on the Turkish league or the Japanese league or anything like that. So I don't want to lead people too far astray. But, yeah, you said, we can use some of the context clues, the betting odds and all that good stuff to work our way to hopefully some good decisions and some good theory.
Yeah, the only thing that I kind of always think about, and this kind of applies to soccer too, when we have the kind of the European competitions, but you're going to we have stats for all of these leagues on RotoWire and putting together cheat sheets. It's like, this team may average a ton of kills per game, but being the best team in Turkey does not mean that you're going to stand up to the best team in Japan in China. So just something to watch out for with stats like that. And that's why the DraftKings pricing tends to rely on betting odds. And so I'll use that for my own, determination of which teams I want to target. So, there are plenty of tools that you can do, even if you don't follow these leagues. We'll be able to figure out which teams are better than the others. Pretty simple.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So that'll be helpful. We'll get our way there. And, we're mostly here for the discussion anyway, right? So I think we'll be okay.
But yeah, let's, you wanted to, let me see here, bring us into the actual teams here. So we can, we're using some new software here for our videos. So we're trying to impress you guys with the graphics that every other video content site does. So,
Yep. Yeah, no, I like it so far. So I just wanted to look at the groups, before we really get into the slate analysis for Thursday. If we just take a look at the groups quick and get a brief overview, I want to start with Group A there at the top. So the Vietnamese champions were unable to attend due to COVID restrictions in Vietnam. I think if they went, they wouldn't be able to get back into the country for weeks or something like that. But that's why there's only 3 teams in Group A. I think Group A is the easiest one to figure out. All of this is, of course, on paper stuff, right? But you've got RNG, who are the Chinese champions, one of the favorites of the tournament here at MSI, and I think they're a lock to win this group. And I think they have a pretty good shot to go 6-0. Now, all of these group stage games are best of one, right? So we know wonky things. Usually we're talking about best of threes in series with China and Korea. So all these group stage games are best of one. So wonky things can happen. They may not go 6-0, but I'd be very surprised if they didn't win the group by a comfortable margin. I think Unicorns of Love are going to finish second. I think what it basically comes down to is Unicorns of Love used to be a European organization. They have a really good coaching setup, and they have players who have a lot of experience on the international stage, even though they're out of the Russian region now. So I think they're a pretty good bet to finish second. And then Pentanet, if they could win a game or two, that'd be good for them, I think. So Oceania lost their pro league, and now their residents are North American residents now, but we don't need to get into all that. But they lost their pro league, so this is basically like the league that spawned after their pro league that was Riot sponsored kind of dissipated. So I think Pentanet might struggle, especially in this group. So I think they're going to finish third. If we jump down to Group C, I think Group B is the hardest one to figure out, so I'm going to save them for last. I think Group C, we've got Damwon Kia, defending world champs, of course, Korean champions. Probably, I'm going to consider them the favorite to win the tournament, slightly over RNG, but I think they're both probably going to end up meeting in the finals, but we'll see. So Damwon Kia probably going to finish first in the group. I think Infinity Esports probably are your last place team. So they come out of Latin America. Maybe they can win a couple games or something, but I think they're going to end up finishing fourth. And then it's going to be between Cloud9 and Japan's Detonation Focus Me, which is an interesting name. So I think that, we're going to sit here. Cloud9 are the team from the major region, besides Damwon Kia, of course, in this group. So I'm going to lean in their direction to finish second. I think Detonation Focus Me have a good shot to cause some upsets, though, potentially. They're not a bad team. They've got some guys with international experience, and they have this mid laner named Arya. Like Arya Stark, I guess, for Game of Thrones fans, although I think it's spelled differently. This Arya mid laner routinely top of the Korean server, I guess, is what I was reading, which, was where all the Korean and all the Chinese pros primarily play solo queue. And this mid laner, Arya, is actually pretty much always on the top of that ladder. So a very good player. I think Arya is I'm looking at my notes. Sorry, I looked away from the camera. Arya is the lone mid laner in the tournament that's in the top 15 for golden experience difference at 10 minutes, which means that he's obviously very good in the laning phase. Now, you have to your point earlier when you were talking about stats, that's against his native competition, right? So he's going to find things quite a bit more difficult against Showmaker and Perks. But I do think they're a good enough team that they could cause some headaches and some upset. But I'm going to go with them in third and Cloud9 in second. Now, Group B, I think, is a really wild card group, okay? So you got Mad Lions as the only major region team. Now, Mad Lions obviously won Europe. That's why they're here. A lot of people probably, they won the spring split playoffs, so we can't throw too much shade their way. But if you ask most people, they're probably going to say that G2 and Rogue are better teams on paper than Mad Lions. But Mad Lions beat them both to get here, so we can't take too much away from them. So despite the fact they're coming from a major region in Europe, they're not like a dominant, lopsided favorite like we've got with like a RNG or a Damwon.
Right.
So we've got a couple interesting teams. Like Pain Gaming has some guys who have played for a long time. Their AD carry BRTT is a very good player. Used to match up with Double Lift, who we haven't talked about this year since he's retired. From North America, and they had a pretty good rivalry for a long time. Very good player. So that said, I think I'm looking at Pain Gaming in fourth place. I think overall they have the weakest lineup, but this group is, I really think, going to be topsy-turvy. I really like PSG and Istanbul Wildcats. From what I've heard and read and listened to people talk about, both have some elements to cause some upsets and surprises here. So I usually like to go the safer route when I'm doing picks or like we're talking about slates and stuff. I think I like PSG and Mad Lions to get out of this group. I think Istanbul Wildcats look like the third place team, but it feels like anything could happen in this group. I'm tempted to take PSG as the first place team coming out. They got really good experience at Worlds last year, and they're a pretty tough team, actually. They're very good in the early game. And we'll see if that translates to international competition. But I think they're a pretty tough team, tough lineup. Probably the safest money is still going to be to take Mad Lions going through in first. But this feels like the wild card group. So I tried to go through that fast. I don't want us to be here too awful long. But I did think, a brief, quick group by group overview will kind of help people as they're looking at these teams and these matchups going forward.
Yeah, just looking at some of the odds just to win the group. That Group B is by far the closest, and it's really down to Mad Lions and PSG.
Yep.
So everyone else,
right. Yeah, I think that's right. Just like from a neutral or whatever, from a perspective of 10,000-foot view or whatever, I think those are the two best lineups. But I think there's some upset potential with all of these teams. So that's the one that's going to be the trickiest to predict going forward, I think.
Yeah, it does seem like that is the group, given that these are best of one and like anything can happen. That group could be an absolute hot mess. Yeah,
for sure, which is going to be really fun to predict on these slates, right?
I mean, yes, that'll be a tough one. All right, let's jump into these to the Thursday matchups. I'm going to completely lose my days again because
it's Wednesday, but we're talking about Thursday,
right? And then we'll start talking about another day. Well, either way. So we don't have cheat sheets yet up on RotoWire because the cheat sheets generally are for they're back looking. They're basically stats, and so once the stats we start getting them from this tournament, then those will be up there. But I just put this very brief Excel sheet together, and it's really just prices. And then what I was mentioning earlier, the kills per game and deaths per game are from their local leagues. And so, you see, if you're thinking wait a minute, if Damwon is possibly winning this and they average the fewest kills per game of any team in the tournament, that's just the way that we've seen kind of the LCK play this year. And so don't get too thrown by that, right, just based on those numbers there. But we were talking a little bit earlier. The prices on RNG and Damwon are absurd. I don't even know. And obviously, they're the huge favorites. So I think people are going to want to try to get, access to some of them. But it's almost impossible if you want to play another favorite. And the other ones are close enough that maybe you don't have to. And in fact, I think you can't even get RNG with some of the higher underdogs. So I don't know how you play RNG. So does that actually make them a little under-owned?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, to your point, their salaries are insane for both Damwon and RNG, and deservedly so. I mean, these are the two teams that are expected to win this tournament probably. In Damwon's case, Cloud9 are pretty good. I would say they have a good lineup. Everybody's gonna pick on and mock North America because they never show up internationally, which I get. But on paper, Cloud9 are pretty good. They have a good lineup. They can be competitive. I don't think they're going to win. But to see Damwon just such an overwhelming favorite against a team likely to take second in their group, it was kind of a surprise. Although I totally understand why that's the case. And then RNG are like we just said, one of the two tournament favorites. And then, Pentanet are probably one of the two worst teams in the entire tournament. So right, that is, explains why they're so expensive. And, to your point, it's so hard to play RNG tomorrow. It's very prohibitive, their pricing. But I totally get why. They're going to win for sure, right? 94% odds, as we can see right here, almost 95% to win. Might be the highest we've ever seen this year. That's something we've said a lot on this podcast.
Love that. Yeah.
So the question is, do you want to use RNG? You probably can only use 3 pieces because they're so expensive. And the question you really got to, ask yourself and decide on if you want to go that route with RNG is, do they get enough kills to pay off those salaries? I think it could certainly happen. But it could also happen that they're just so much better than Pentanet that they really don't need to do a lot to win. That's at least got to be in our consciousness going into the slate tomorrow. Whereas I think Damwon will get a little bit more pushback from Cloud9, which could lead to more kills overall, total kills overall in that game. So throw in the fact that Damwon are a little bit cheaper in every single role. It makes me kind of want to lean going Damwon if I'm going with one of the two favorites, but can't really fault anyone for going either side of that equation tomorrow. It's just you got to know going in that it's going to be tough to make lineups that you really feel great about with those teams.
Yeah, we talked, I feel like, a bunch towards the end of the LPL season that we were just seeing these like massive favorites that just didn't need to do much. And so the fantasy points ended up not really being produced, even though they dominate. But we need more than just like easy. In fact, easy wins are the last thing we want,
right?
Because it just doesn't produce enough fantasy points. And so we have this weird situation with RNG that could definitely happen in this matchup. But then we're like, well, let's go to Damwon, who like don't really rack up a ton of kills when they, in wins or loss,
Yep.
So based on the prices, I feel like it's going to be the slate where everybody's like, maybe I just don't play either of the big favorites and then try to just make my way through the others.
Yep. The thing with those two favorites is you get the perceived safety, right? Yep. Whereas these other matchups, none of them are really that safe, I would say. So
right.
One thing I meant to say about the Damwon Cloud9, and you just reminded me when you said Damwon don't often put up huge kill totals. Cloud9 actually also, Damwon and Cloud9 also both played lower action games this split in their domestic leagues. So that, does that lead to, we think that game might be a little bit competitive. Damwon ultimately should win, but does that lead to a low kill series game overall? I'm not sure. I did want to throw that in there though, because I wrote that down that they both played at lower kill total paces this year. Like if you use Damwon or RNG, you're paying up for safety is basically what it is. But can they get to that upside? Like at these prices, you need them to get 20 kills, I think. Like, and that might be kind of a tough ask. So it's just, you get the safety, but I don't know. The rest of your lineup isn't going to be that safe if you go this route. So it's kind of what you got to balance when you're looking at those two teams.
Yeah, that's. I think that's the issue. That, like, I think there's a decent chance that I play this entire tournament without trying to play RNG or Damwon. Like, I just don't see a situation where they're going to be. They're never going to be cheap. Like,
right.
The only time that possibly we get one of them cheap is in the final when it's a showdown, and I'm not going to want to play it anyway.
Right.
But like best of one, it just takes one of the other ones to go off. And if you have the winner, then you're fine. Like, I think, you completely have to play the safety versus, potential upside. And, we talk about it with tournaments, forget the safety. You don't want the safety because you think everybody else is going to play it safe. And so you want to get the upside elsewhere. But it's weird how the safety is less in the fantasy points and more in just the win.
Right.
And so, and particularly coming from LPL and LCK, where we're used to the games not played bonuses, and we're talking about sweeps, and like, we don't have those here in the group stage. And so it's really just about kills pretty much. Obviously there's everything else, but getting a high number of kills is really what is going to make us get our fantasy points here. So where are you actually going?
So
Turkey?
I don't know, man. Like, I feel like, so we just talked about Group B. I think when I look at Group B for tomorrow, I think I'd rather be on the underdogs. So like, I think I want to play PSG tomorrow. I like their lineup. I think they're a pretty good team, as I discussed when we talked about the group a little bit. And Mad Lions, are favored slightly in that matchup tomorrow.
Yep.
So you're not getting like, PSG are not big enough underdogs where you're getting like huge salary savings out of it, but they are one underdog that I like. so a lot of people might know Maple from his time in China, where he was pretty underwhelming, but he's back as the mid laner for PSG. And, when he was on Flash Wolves, before he went to China, he was pretty great and always played really well at these international events. So I don't want people to sleep on Maple in this group stage. And, I like PSG. I think they can upset Mad Lions. So they're one underdog I'm looking at for sure. If you want to get, crazy and get some good leverage, I think you can play Cloud9. I don't think it's stupid. I don't think that they're going to win, okay? But I think that they're good enough that they could – it's like in the realm of possibilities that they could upset. Like, I don't think it's going to happen, but it could happen, whereas I don't think Pentanet stand a chance. So Cloud9 are very cheap. They come with upside if they can win. They might score well. And then you can play them. You can probably play them with RNG. I haven't tried it yet, admittedly, but they're probably cheap enough. So that's kind of a way to get leverage and still have some upside. And then you get RNG safety. I think, Detonation Focus Me, I think, are going to win. So if you're not playing the top favorites, they're the third priced options in a lot of places, third or fourth, I think. Sorry. I think they're a good spot. I think they have upside in their lineup. I think they have some good players. We talked about Arya being a really good mid laner. So I like them as a favorite. If you're not willing to pay all the way up, I think that they're in a good spot. You get a little bit of salary savings and maybe can make an overall more competitive lineup that way. And then the hardest one to predict for me, I think, is going to be Istanbul Wildcats versus Pain Gaming. I have no clue, man, who's going to win that one. I'm leaning Istanbul Wildcats, but I don't love the prices. From what I've read and stuff, like a big issue for Pain Gaming is their top lane. So I don't know. I don't know a lot about this guy Starscreen, for Istanbul Wildcats. Can they take advantage of Pain Gaming? I think you could play either side of that matchup. You get the salary savings with Pain Gaming, though. So if you want to go that route, I think that one's really hard to predict. And, I think Matt and PSG are really hard to predict. So I think you could play either side of those matchups. And I hate to, kind of leave it up in the air like that, not give full on a pick either way. But I don't know. I think that group is so up in the air. And then I think, a couple of these teams I just don't know enough about to confidently say that they're going to, one team's going to outright win and one team is going to outright lose. So that makes it kind of tough for me.
The betting odds kind of agree with you, though. There's not any overwhelming favorite there. And so I think you can play either side of that. Going back to the Cloud9 thing for a second, do you think they score enough, though, even if they win, that it works out if they're the only underdog that wins? But when we have a number of close matchup, it's possible they're the only underdog that wins, obviously, but do you think they score enough beating Damwon to justify them as the underdog to pick as opposed to any of the other ones?
I think that you play Cloud9 if you want to play 4 RNG, I think, because I think the only other way you can do it is by playing Pentanet. I don't think any of the other underdogs. Maybe you can do it with Infinity Esports, but I think what it boils down to is probably Infinity Esports, Cloud9, and Pentanet all lose. Okay, so you probably don't want to play any of them at the end of the day. Right. The only one that I can see winning is Cloud9, but I shouldn't say it like that though, because I don't see them winning. I just think they're the best of the cheap underdogs. You know what I mean? Whereas Infinity Esports has the easiest matchup of the 3 cheapest underdogs, but I don't think they're as good a team. So it kind of throws me off them. So I think you really only play Cloud9 if you want to play 4 RNG, because you can do that. I wouldn't expect Cloud9 to win. I honestly think the only underdog I really like is PSG. Whereas the rest, I don't see them winning. I could see, I don't know. It's tricky, man. I feel like I'm rambling because I don't have strong leans for a lot of these
No,
matchups, you know?
not at all. I think that the Cloud9 issue is simply that like they're one of the best teams in the tournament,
Right.
but they happen to be playing one of the better teams, and that team is much better than they are. So it's
right, exactly. So, and I think to your point, like even if they win, do they score enough? And then you can play them with RNG, but then if RNG just walks through Pentanet and they don't score well either, then you're doubly screwed, right? So I think, that's kind of like a risk reward high upside lineup. But I just don't love Cloud9's chances. That's for sure.
Does a 5-game slate make you think that we don't see people try any one-offs, or like, is there enough, are there enough teams that we don't really need to get like stupidly creative?
Yeah, I think so. I think like it's just hard because like on a 5-game best of 1 slate, if you're gonna one-off or like do game stacks and stuff, you need so much to go right. Where I think it's tough for me I never want to do that anyway, right? So, but I think it makes it even harder for me to like get behind doing that because you just need so much to go right. Like not all the chalk is gonna win tomorrow, probably. Like not one or two or three or whatever of the favorite teams are probably. Could potentially lose tomorrow. It's not going to go the way we think just because that's the nature of best of 1. But I think like if you start picking 1 guy from here, 3 guys from here, 2 guys from here, you just need a lot to go your way for that to happen. Not only like do you need them all to win, you need them all to score well. And I don't know. I think it's it's definitely a way to go. We've seen it work on slates in the past, but I think like for a 5-game best of 1 slate, it's asking for a lot to go your way.
I generally avoid best of 1 slates. Like I don't play LCS and LEC for that.
Same, honestly.
Are game stacks more viable just because we don't have to worry about games not played bonuses?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Like I admittedly didn't play much LEC or LCS either because I don't like the best of 1 formats. But I think so. Yeah. Because if you get a game, a team only has to win, right? To win the game because there's not a series. Duh. But like a team could win 24-20. And, it's not like then you have to worry about game 2 where team A wins with 18 kills, but, the team that got 20 kills in game 1 only gets 3 kills. So, they're going to get passed by another winning team. So I do think game stacks are a little more viable on best of 1s because you could end up with games, scoring, both teams scoring over 20 kills potentially. And then if the team that loses scores over 20 kills, who cares that they lost? They're still, going to score a ton of fantasy points. So I do think it's more viable, but just not how I play, man.
No, I think the important thing is just to remember that if they lose, they have to outscore the other winning teams. And so,
but to your point, I think like to your question, they're more likely to do that in a best of 1 because you don't have to worry about the games not played, or, you don't have to worry about them scoring really well in 1 game, but losing and then getting absolutely destroyed in game 2. So it is easier for a losing team to potentially outscore a winning team in a best of 1 than it would be in a series. Right.
But yeah, you also pretty much need it to be the highest scoring game game on the slate because any other team outscores them and you're probably dead. It's for people with those.
Yeah, it's not how I want to play, but it never is. But yeah, I do think it is more viable on best of 1s than on best of 3s or best of 5s.
Right.
So
yeah. All right, cool. Like I said, we're back for all of these MSI slates. We're hoping that DraftKings helps us out with some pricing earlier in the day as opposed to later. But the plan is to preview as many as we can. So feel free to subscribe for all the RotoWire videos, and you can get a notification by hitting that bell every time we have a new esports show that comes on. If you've liked this video, if you could please hit the like button below. Also, some of the stats that were on that little sheet that I had before, the kills and deaths per game, that's all available on rotowire.com/esports, open for all subscribers. So if you're not a subscriber, you can go to rotowire.com/try, TRY, and it gets you 10 free days to the site, access to actually all of the sports that we cover, as well as our subscriber Discord chat, which is the origin of making fun of me for having to talk about the MSI. So, Ethan, thank you, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yep. Good luck to everybody. Undoubtedly, some of the things we said are going to be wrong. It's just the nature of the beast. It's going to be a tough one to figure out, but it's good to have League of Legends back, and we can watch and enjoy and try to make a little money. So if you got questions, throw them in the comments, but we'll be back, and good luck to everybody.
RotoWire today, free for 10 days. Get our premium tools, rankings, analysis, and breaking news alerts. No credit card required. Go to rotowire.com/try.